Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Mustang Studios podcast. I am your host for today, Padma, one of the officers, and joining me are some students from the biomedical pathway here to talk about a very sensitive topic. So, here, a quick disclaimer to all of our viewers. This topic is going to be kind of uncomfortable to talk about, but I implore all viewers just to give it a listen, to raise awareness and just to inform yourself and perhaps other people who might need this information later on. So, thank you for joining me, guys. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Kathleen and I'm a current senior.
Hi, my name is Laiba. I'm also a current senior.
And my name is Kassidy. We're all seniors.
Mm-hmm. So, would you like to introduce the topic that you guys are going to be discussing today?
Okay, so we're discussing drug facilitated sexual assault, where essentially it's the incident of sexual assault or rape caused by a victim that has been influenced under date rape drugs, such as a variety of different things, and it could happen to literally anyone and everyone.
And so the goal of our project is to basically spread awareness about this type of sexual assault. And we want high school students particularly to be aware of this because we're going to be leaving high school soon. And we want everyone to be aware of the realities outside of high school when you're going to college.
So, my main question for you guys is why date rape drugs specifically? What about them makes it different than any other, kind of danger out there?
So, when we were thinking about what we wanted to do our capstone project on, we had a lot of different things come to mind. We thought about, what students had done in previous years, what students might, just pick off the top of their head because it seemed really easy. And for a lot of us, since this is a project that we were going to be working on for an entire semester, we want something that'd be a little bit more different and more interesting than what most students have done in the past. So, I believe when I first heard the idea, it was Kassidy who brought it up, and we kind of just ran with it from there.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about what to do for a capstone project, I actually found the idea when I was on Instagram, and I saw this post of like this woman sharing her experience with date rape, and it was actually really scary because it kind of just made me realize that date rape has become much harder for people to commit, especially now that more people are becoming more aware of it. And while it seemed like we were making progress on it, it just turned out that people were coming up with different alternatives and made it more dangerous. So I think that's why I really wanted to help educate people on that, because it really hurts to see like other people like fearing for their lives and well-beings and stuff like that.
And then on top of that, we like really thought it through. Like, we know in the process of like having this be approved and all the content that would go into it, it was just, although the topic is so unique and it like stood out against like every other topic, it's just kind of hard to see it come to life where we would actually spread awareness to it because it's so sensitive, and like we don't want to come off in a wrong way, like, oh, um we're here for you, but at the same time we don't want to give them the wrong impression, if that makes any sense.
So kind of the sense of like not trying to give them false hope or some okay. That I can understand, but the thing I'm most fascinated by is the whole concept of like the date rape drugs, specifically how the drugs come into the mix. And also I feel like rape in and of itself, talking about it is, or just anything sex related is very taboo. Sexual assault or even more innocent things like sexual preferences are very taboo to talk about. So I feel like this is an important topic, especially for our generation. So, what research have you guys done, and what have you guys figured out with this whole uh, kind of situation?
So in a sense, we over a period of time we learned that drug facilitated sexual assault, or DFSA, is very underreported in our world because of the side effects that it may have. It could have someone not remember like what had happened before and what possible evidence there could be on them that could help them get the justice that they deserve. So through our capstone, we were able to produce a bunch of different things. Currently, we have an Instagram account. It's a selfless promo. We have a sip safe MHHS, and we have a lot of like information on there, like how to stay safe and like how to tell if you've been sexually assaulted through date rape drugs. And yeah, that's just a few of our things.
And like also, I feel like the more we went on about this topic, the more we realized that it's something that everyone knows about, but not really. Because everyone knows that like date rape is a thing. But if you were to ask them to like name something about it or like, talk about how like you can help yourself from it, they might not be able to say anything. So I feel like this was something that we really needed to educate about.
So I hear that most rape cases are not perpetrated by strangers, but mostly people that other people know. That, say, for example, the victim and the perpetrator are usually related in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like that's also one thing that lends itself into uncommon reportings, because they feel like, or for, at least what I've heard of, is that, especially in certain cultures, that it's very looked down upon if someone comes out or speaks against someone that they know, especially if it's like
someone older.
Someone much older, yeah, because then there's that sense of like hierarchy that you are trying to topple, and they don't like that.
Exactly. Some other things that we've done as part of our capstone project. So as seniors, we are going to be leaving, the high school soon. We're graduating in June, and we kind of wanted this topic to not go away. So what we decided to do is we've decided with, in partnership with our digital art pathway students, is to produce hallway posters, which
That's
students
me.
Yep, which we'll see around campus pretty soon. Actually, we're putting them up, I believe, next week.
Yeah, we hope that talking about this topic will encourage others to also speak on about it as well, so that we can create more of an inclusive environment here at our school.
And then on top of that, we also currently have our trifold poster, and the Learning Commons is at the entrance. As soon as you enter, this poster contains like a lot of information, varying from like ways to tell if you have been like sexually assaulted or drugged, or also like what are some interventions available. Like there have been products such as like Sip Chip, where you can test the drink prior to drinking it to see if it has been drugged by someone before. Like our trifold has all those informations, and it helps to understand and learn more. And while you're also at our trifold, we also have little informational cards where you can sign the QR code and sign our pledge, and feel free to enter the giveaway. But yeah, so we encourage you guys to come out to the Learning Commons and to check out the trifold, because we really do think that is very informational for everyone to read and look over as well.
So I feel like this is a very important topic to talk about. But I feel like I personally would also be thinking this, but why should we talk about it now when we're in high school, as opposed to when we go out to college or when we go out, leave home or whatever? Why do you think it's a good idea for us to start talking about it now itself?
So while we do have a lot of advisory lessons that often educate us on like self-awareness and taking care of ourselves in both physically and mentally, I do also feel that it's important to address concerns like these that people don't commonly talk about, sexual assault and other topics that kind of circulate that area. Because when many students leave leave high school, especially Mountain House, considering it's a fairly small, isolated town and not in a large city, that they're not really used to these kinds of things. So bringing awareness and making sure that everyone's aware, so they can take steps to being more safe when they're out, and finally leaving this small town.
Mm-hmm.
And like also when we like for people who want to go to college, you might experience like the stereotypical like college life. You go and party.
Oh yeah, like constant drinking and like.
It's like I feel like it's unavoidable, and especially since alcohol plays a huge role in like drug facilitated sexual assault. I think you just need to be aware on how to protect yourself if you go into these situations, like not to go in blind. And like also for people who are not going to college, you're going to go to like a bar maybe or a club eventually.
You take your friends out to the bar, you probably have to drive them home if they're like like hammered or something.
So it's like something everyone needs to know, kind of.
And then kind of on top of that, it doesn't really matter where you are, whether it's a bar, like a club, or a party. just anywhere in general where there's any sort of drinks, even if it's just soda or any juice or any even possibly even water, it could easily get spiked with just a drop of a pill or a drop of something, you know. So regardless, even if that college party or if that club doesn't have alcohol or um any kind of alcoholic drink that requires you to be 21 or over to drink, it could still potentially happen with any other kind of drink as well.
Yeah, and Kathleen, I think you bring up a good point here because I've often heard stories on Halloween about candy being spiked, and candy isn't necessarily targeted towards like teenagers and like young adults. It's meant for little kids. So it's really a scary world out there, and I think this is kind of one of these topics that people should understand.
So on said topic, how do you guys propose that people start, observing the world around them, or start just like, how do you think they avoid these kinds of things? What should people do to make sure they don't fall into such a situation?
I think one of the biggest things that you need to remember is that anything could possibly be spiked. It does not have to be an alcoholic drink, as mentioned. And then on top of that, the biggest thing that we have to tell is to always be aware of your surroundings, know who you're with, know what is present in the environment that you're staying in, and also just know like how just know who has your back. Like make sure your friends have you, and make sure you have your friends, and make sure that you guys are looking out for each other at the little gathering.
21st century technology, try to share your location with your friends, family, anyone who you're telling you're going somewhere. Make sure they just know where you are and where they can contact you. But another thing to keep in mind is like when you go out to these bars or when you go out to these public events, if you're getting like sodas or like quote unquote packaged food, make sure the seal is on it when you open it. Make sure that it's something that doesn't look like it's been tampered with, just to keep like all of its components or all the components of like that drink or snack you're having inside from the original manufacturer instead of someone else breaking that seal and entering or putting stuff in.
So my question is, suppose I'm out with my friends. We go to this really neat bar or whatever. And what if I get the suspicion that either my drink or my friend's drink is potentially spiked? What do we do in that situation?
You should definitely not drink it. Like, just dump it out, get a new one. I feel like it's pretty obvious, but like, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Mhm.
And you can also like alert managers or whoever's around, that something may have happened. You can also, or maybe you could like save the drink, call the authorities to get it tested, maybe.
Mhm.
And like, if you do think that you did accidentally drink it and you might be drugged, there are a lot of things that you can do. Like, you can call for help, get an ambulance, so that you can be tested, stuff like that.
And then one of the biggest things that we try not to talk about too much, but it kind of needs to be talked about, is that there are certain things that an individual should not be doing if they believe they've been drugged or they believe something has happened to them. Like, for instance, if you think that you drank something that has been spiked, we try to let people know that you shouldn't be doing normal things like urinating or showering or bathing, because those kinds of things can help in making sure that a doctor or a professional can gather evidence from you and test to see if, yes, you did have this certain drug in your body system and it has happened to you. And then you can get the proper justice that you deserve.
I feel like the reason why I brought up this specific question is because sometimes I feel like certain personalities might not be so comfortable with voicing it. Like, oh, I have the suspicion that this drink may not be safe for me to drink, or my friend's drink may not be safe for me to drink. It'll be really weird if I like take them drink out of their hand and be like, hey, you shouldn't drink this because it feels unsafe. So I feel like certain things I feel like have to extend beyond just the personality aspect of like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with the idea that this could be unsafe. I just have to kind of like go for it. How do you advise people with, maybe more shyer personalities to tackle this kind of stuff? Like, say, for example, you're uncomfortable with the idea of like, kind of nudging your friend, being like, hey, this might not be a great idea.
I would say just trust your instincts. Usually they're right. And if you do suspect that something is wrong, I feel like you should definitely say something. And I know that there's always this fear that you may be wrong, but it is better to be wrong than to let your friend or let yourself drink something that could potentially be very, very dangerous for you.
And then I would say on top of that, there are also interventions available for a lot of people. As mentioned, I think near the beginning, one of the products is like Sip Chip, where it's like a little tiny chip, and they can like put a few drops of the drink and test to see if it tests positive for any sort of drugs, or even drink coasters. Also, they can also test to see if the drink has been spiked, and then you and a friend can like start to normalize using those interventions just so that it doesn't have that awkward phase between the, hey, I think your drink is spiked, and they could believe you or not believe you. So with those interventions, it could definitely help to break that barrier.
Or they just could be too drunk to realize that their drink has been spiked. So, what other things has your research kind of like helped you know about this topic? What else have you guys researched
So,
regarding?
I believe for our final grade of our first semester, we had to write a full written report on all the research that we had done. We looked through tons of articles, studies, peer-reviewed journals, and those kinds of things. And honestly, they all spoke about the similar things we previously mentioned, which are that a lot of these cases go unreported. A lot of these are usually caused in partnership to drinking alcohol. It's usually like kind of a double tax situation. And most often or not, usually towards the end of these journals or articles, they talk about how we need to be more like emotionally available to people who've experienced this, because the psychological toll it takes on an individual, the frantic like panicking like, oh my god, this actually happened, and then on top of that, coming to terms with it is a whole other experience. So our research showed us a lot of things, but I think it's really important for people to do their own as well.
Definitely. I feel like still a little bit more time, so we'll conclude the episode here. A special thank you to you guys for joining me today. If you guys have any questions regarding this episode, feel free to leave a message on your Instagram, which is at sipsafemhhs. And if you have any, this time around, we won't be reading any Dropbox comments because of our guests and the topic and kind of like the reason that the awareness thing. So we will not be doing any Dropbox this week. We will open it up next week. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Be sure to follow the podcast on MHHS Mustang Studios on Instagram. Check out our Spotify, Anchor. And yeah, have a great day. Stay safe. And if you want more tips on awareness, check out their poster in the Learning Commons. So yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Bye.